Hello everyone, and welcome to College Football Roll Call, the only show where the fans choose the talking points and they always get the final word. My name's Kevin Boylett. I'll be your host for the next 30 minutes that we're live. We'll be joined by a special guest today, Chris Hummer, national college football writer for us here at 24/7 Sports. We're going to get his biggest winner, loser, and takeaway from week 5 in the college football world. And then when we finish with him, we want to hear from all of you. So please call into our show. 615-422-5240 is the number here at College Football Roll Call at 24/7 Sports. We are looking for diehard, passionate fans to call in with their biggest winners and losers and takeaways from the week. If you don't get through right away, please don't be discouraged. Leave a voicemail. We may use it later in the week on another one of our shows. And if you don't feel like calling in, please like, comment, or share this video. It'll help us reach a much larger audience. So again, everyone in the comments section that I see you here now, Rick, Joe, Greg, Jacob, Maryland, I see you all telling me who you're rooting for. I want to hear you when we open up the phone lines. And right now, we're going to go to the phone line with our special guest today. It's Chris Hummer, national college football writer for us here at 24/7 Sports. Chris, thanks for joining us today. How are you?
Doing great. Thanks for having me on.
Excellent. So the way we do things around here, Chris, we're always looking for a winner and a loser. Who was your biggest winner from this past weekend?
All right, let me set the scene real quick before I get there.
Sure.
Maryland let its students out of class early on Friday afternoon, trying to create a huge atmosphere in College Park against Penn State. A couple hours later, final score is Penn State 59, Maryland nothing. That's why Penn State is my biggest winner of the weekend, even though they played on Friday. Not only is this a huge win for recruiting, Penn State recruits the DMV really hard, and they're going to go head-to-head with Maryland over the next few years. But this, from a big picture perspective, means you kind of have to take Penn State seriously this season in terms of not only the Big Ten, but potentially the college football playoff. Penn State entered the year having the look of a team that was probably a year away. They were really young on both sides of the ball, talented. Their 24/7 Sports team talent composite ranking has jumped up to 10th in the country. Talented enough to compete for a championship, but really young, especially with a new quarterback, Sean Clifford, replacing Trace McSorley. But Sean Clifford has played really well earlier in the season. And given the way Penn State went on the road and just dominated a rival, you have to like Penn State's chances later in the season with a schedule that sets up really, really well.
I think Penn State was really impressive. Anytime you beat a team like Maryland, who was blowing out teams earlier in the year, 59-0, that's impressive. But my biggest winner of the week has to go to Alabama, moving up to number 1 in the AP poll and absolutely dominating Ole Miss. And that connection that Tua Tagovailoa showed with wide receiver Devonta Smith, connecting for 11 receptions, 274 yards, and 5 touchdowns. Hard to find a better performance across college football this past weekend. But it's not all about winners. We want to know who your biggest loser is as well, Chris. So lay it on us. Who's your biggest loser of the week?
Yeah, it'd be Virginia Tech and head coach Justin Fuente. I'd like to point out that Devonta Smith had more receiving yards than Virginia Tech had offensive yards against Duke in a 45-10 loss. And that's a really bad loss for the Hokies. Duke's going to be one of the worst teams in the ACC this season after losing Daniel Jones and several other players to graduation in the NFL. It's Virginia Tech's second ACC loss of the year, and their only wins are against Old Dominion and Furman, and those were in pretty close fashion. Justin Fuente, who's in year 4 of his tenure, has seen his team drop every season of his regime from 10 to 9 to 6 a season ago, and there's a pretty decent chance, given the early season play, Virginia Tech's going to be even worse this year than 6 wins. Fuente saw 16 players bolt this offseason to the transfer portal, and that's not something you usually see early in in the middle of a head coach's tenure. Usually you see the program coalesce a little bit. And the worst thing about it was, by the end of the night, if you looked at Justin Fuente's Wikipedia page, and his salary section, it just simply read too damn much. So fans in Blacksburg are not happy with Justin Fuente and the Hokies right now.
I'll tell you what, Chris, that one was a real head scratcher for me. But my biggest pick for biggest loser would have to go to Purdue. Not only did they lose to Minnesota, The bigger loss might have been the players that got hurt, losing starting quarterback Elijah Sindelar and wide receiver Rondale Moore. That's just crushing for the Boilermakers. But before we let you go, Chris, I want to know any other takeaways from around the college football world this weekend?
Yeah, I think given the way we saw Clemson struggle with North Carolina and Alabama's defense, again, against Ole Miss, struggle a little bit, I think we have a little bit more parity than we've had the last couple seasons in college football. Ohio State looked great against Nebraska. LSU has a really big early season win over Texas. Georgia has a really big early season win over Notre Dame. I think realistically, you can go 7 or 8 deep in terms of college football playoff contenders this year, national championship contenders this year. And I don't really think we've been able to say that during this Clemson and Alabama reign of dominance. So I think college football as a whole has a few more teams this season that could potentially legitimately win the national championship than it has in years past.
Yeah, Chris, that's got me excited. The way Ohio State looked, absolutely dominant. I think that Oklahoma, Georgia, and LSU could also get into that national conversation for the national championship. It's not just... Before the season, it felt like we were resigned to Alabama, Clemson, Part 5, and we may still get it maybe in the college football playoff semifinal, but if we're spared that in the final and we get a new team in there, I think everyone would be happy. I know everyone's happy with this interview. Chris, thank you so much for coming on. Everyone at home, make sure you're following Chris on Twitter at Chris_Hummer and reading his work over at 247sports.com. Chris will have you again on shortly.
Sounds good. Thanks for having me on.
Catch you later. All right, that was Chris Hummer. Excellent interview. Now it's your turn. Pound those digits, 615-42. Wow, someone was waiting. Welcome to College Football Roll Call. What's your name and who's your favorite team?
My name's Jacoby Baker, and my favorite team is Auburn. I'm from Dothan, Alabama.
Excellent. An Auburn fan on the line. Auburn's got a huge game this week against Florida. How are the Tigers fans feeling right now?
Well, first off, let me explain the season of Auburn so far. I mean, Auburn have, of course, had a great season, and it starts with the defense. The defense have not gave up no more than 21 points all year, besides Mississippi, 23 points. And then you got to look at the offensive line of Auburn. We all got seniors on the offensive line. They all fresh. They're all experienced, which is great for Bo Nix coming in as a true freshman quarterback. And he's good himself. So long as the offensive line is doing this job, the wide receivers are healthy, man, I think we're going to do good. And we got one of the best defense in the country. So my final game prediction score is Auburn 31, Florida 24.
Wow, I love that prediction. And Auburn actually goes into Gainesville where College Game Day will be, ESPN's College Game Day. They opened up as a 2-point favorite in that game. So a lot of momentum. I love what true freshman quarterback Bo Nix is doing. But you're right. That team is totally predicated on the defense. And that Auburn defense may be one of the best in the country, if not the best. Do you have a winner or loser to nominate for the week?
You talking about for this game right here?
It could be any game. Anything you saw this past weekend. Anyone you want to shout out as either a winner or a loser?
Well, right now I've been stuck on this Auburn football team right now because of like I said, a lot of people don't think that Auburn got a chance. You know, coming into the preseason, Auburn wasn't even a talk about anything about being in the top 4 or anything like that. So right now I'm just gonna stay here with Auburn and go from there and War Eagle. All
right, that's fair. That's fair. Hey, thank you so much for your call. I really appreciate it, and we'll see what Auburn can do this weekend against Florida. All right, so that was great. Auburn fans, I knew they'd be checking in considering how great their team has been playing and also the big game they've got on deck. Next caller. Welcome to the College Football Roll Call here at 24/7 Sports. What's your name and who's your favorite team?
All right, that's fair. That's fair. Hey, thank you so much for your call.
Hello?
You're on the air live. What's your name and who's your favorite team?
My name is DJ and the Florida Gators.
All right, DJ, a Florida fan. What's on your mind today?
Man, I'm making a trip from Texas to Gainesville this weekend. I'm ready to watch Florida kick some butt, hopefully.
Really? So you believe, our last caller, in case you didn't hear, was an Auburn fan who was predicting an Auburn win. Why should we believe Florida's going to win this game, considering they're underdogs at home?
It's in the swamp, man. We got a really great defense, one of the best in the country, I believe. And I think if our offensive line holds up, we got a good backup quarterback in that's starting for us now, and our receivers are going to go out there and make some good plays. I think if we can get a little running game going, we'll be fine. We'll take it home 24-17.
Oh, wow. All right. Very similarly to how Auburn has rallied around true freshman quarterback Bo Nix, Florida has rallied around backup quarterback turned starter Kyle Trask, and really the team hasn't missed a beat at all. Do you have a nominee for biggest winner or loser of the week?
Man, Ohio State's looking really good right now, in my opinion. That's going to be my biggest winner.
Yeah, I can't disagree with you there. Alabama's mine, but Ohio State right there. Alabama and Ohio State looked like the two best teams in the country to me. But thank you very much for calling in. We hope to get you calling in again soon, and good luck to your Florida Gators this weekend. All right, the phone calls firing. It's like, I guess you got the message from last week when we were struggling to get callers. Now, I barely can get a word in before the phone line starts ringing again. That number is 615-422-5240. We've already heard from fans of the two biggest teams to play each other next week, Auburn and Florida. That's a top 10 matchup. We've got some other decent matchups in line for next week. We've got number 14, Iowa, at number 19, Michigan. That one would be a little more exciting if Michigan didn't get off to the rocky start. Last week, Michigan scored 52 points in a shutout win over Rutgers and got Chris Ash canned. So Michigan is back on the right foot, and we'll see what they can do against Iowa this weekend. And then number 25, Michigan State, is at number 4, Ohio State. I expect Ohio State to run away with that one, but this might be the toughest defense that they've faced to date. So it'll be a challenge, at least, for Justin Fields. I'm going to check into the comments section to see what you guys are talking about while we're waiting for that phone line to buzz. Remember, it's 615-422-5240. And Linda is in the comments section, says, "Go my Ohio State." Linda, give us a call. We'd love to hear from a Buckeyes fan. Matthew and Billy are both in the comment section saying War Eagle, Auburn's the best even when losing. So that's great to hear. The Auburn fans have plenty of confidence heading into this weekend. Welcome to the College Football Roll Call at 24/7 Sports. What's your name and who's your favorite team?
This is Forrest, and my favorite team is the South Carolina Gamecocks.
All right, Forrest is a Gamecocks fan. What's on your mind, Forrest?
Yeah, I'm really concerned going to the biggest winner and loser of the week. I'm going to say it's going to be Carolina just because of the fact that Muschamp shows we can have a good team, but the inconsistency is just something to be afraid of. We have a big game in 2 weeks. Luckily, we have a bye against Georgia. But if we go to Georgia and show again that we can't compete, questions are going to be up in the air again about Muschamp, and our AD, Ray Tanner, still on his side. I know things looked a little bit better with the game against Kentucky, but we have to be consistent, and I just don't see that going to Georgia, and I'm afraid that's going to be another problem for the Gamecocks.
Wow. Yeah, it's been a rocky start for South Carolina, and South Carolina fans knew that it was going to be potentially a rough season considering how hard that schedule was. One of the toughest schedules in all of college football, but they weren't expecting to stumble out the gates against North Carolina like that.
Right, and to stumble against Missouri, we're 2-3, and we still have Georgia, Florida, Texas A&M, and Clemson to go. Even our mid-major school, Appalachian State, is a top team to go up against, and I just don't see us making a bowl. And you wonder at what point will we start giving in to the Muschamp and looking for another guy, or if Ray Tanner is going to stick with him throughout this season.
All right. Yeah, well, that's interesting to follow. Of course, the Gamecocks working with a true freshman quarterback in Ryan Hilinski. Thank you so much. Always love hearing from the South Carolina fans. The Gamecocks fans are among the best represented on this show. So thank you so much for pounding the digits. All right, moving on now. And he mentioned Muschamp on the hot seat potentially if they continue to lose. This was kind of a get-well game for hot seat guys considering. We'll take this caller. Welcome to the College Football Roll Call. It's at 24/7 Sports. What's your name and who's your favorite team?
My name's Rob Billingsley. My favorite team is the Ohio State Buckeyes.
All right, we got a Buckeye fan on the line. I knew they were going to call in. They had an excellent week. What's on your mind this Monday?
I'm just going to say, if we keep doing the same thing we were doing defensively, tackling in space, offensively, offensive line stays healthy, wide receivers are doing well. Justin Fields, my God, what a huge addition to that offense. The kid's walked in, humble, and he's ready to play. He's doing the job. I love it.
Justin Fields, for those who missed it, had 3 touchdowns passing, 1 rushing touchdown this past week. Huge performance as he continues to build his Heisman candidacy. And that was a big spot, a night game on the road. Game day was there in Lincoln, and you just crushed Nebraska in a year where Nebraska was hoping to have a resurgence. And I think Ohio State just stepped on their throat and ended any chance of that. So would Justin Fields and Ohio State be your biggest winner of the week?
Absolutely.
All right. Well, we'll see where they go from here. Thank you so much for calling in. Always love having the Buckeyes represented on the show. All right. So as I was saying, I'm going to mute that for just a second so I can get my thoughts out here as we were talking about coaches, and I see the phone's ringing. I'm sorry if I don't get to this before you hang up. Jim Harbaugh, he beat Rutgers. Willie Taggart crushed NC State. You could look at some of the other guys. Clay Helton lost to Washington, and Chip Kelly lost to Arizona. There may be moves on the horizon there, but Matt Rule at Baylor gets an extension through 2027. He wasn't on the hot seat, but he took over a tough situation and has turned it around and already gotten a contract extension. When you look at some of these other guys like Harbaugh, who have been taking years to put it together, and you look at Matt Rule and what he's done in such a short period, it makes you wonder what's taken him so long. All right, back to the phone lines. Welcome to the College Football Roll Call at 24/7 Sports. You are on the line. What's your name and who's your favorite team?
My name's Brian, and I'm an Auburn fan.
All right, another Auburn fan checking in. What's on your mind?
It's just nuts to me how, I've listened to a lot of the national storylines, and everybody's still centered around Ohio State and Alabama and LSU, and rightfully so. I get that. Ohio State is probably the most complete team out there. But with that being said, both LSU and Alabama have allowed 30-plus points from teams that have no business scoring that many points on anybody at all. Auburn, if you look at Auburn's defense, they kept the SEC's leading rusher to 45 yards. And that's not the first time they've done that this year. I mean, look what they did with Texas A&M last week.
Right. And look, I'm just going to say this real quick. Auburn's defense is legit. There is no knock on Auburn's defense, and they will make them one of the most competitive teams. But why teams like Alabama and Georgia and LSU are getting more credit, I guess you could say, early seasons, because there's question marks around the most important position, quarterback. And while Bo Nix has played great so far, he's still a true freshman. Alabama's got Tua Tagovailoa. Georgia's got Jake Fromm. LSU's got Joe Burrow. Even when you expand further outside the SEC, Clemson's got Trevor Lawrence, who's already won a national championship, and Ohio State has Justin Fields, who's looked exceptional as a transfer product. So I think that it's going to take some time. It's a slow build for Auburn. People are going to catch on so long as they keep winning, and that defense will keep them winning. I'm confident of that. So I'm interested to see how Nix looks against Florida this weekend.
I will agree with you. Those other quarterbacks are great. They've been doing this for more than a year. But if you look at Bo Nix's completion percentage, the adjusted completion percentage, take away the drops and the throwaways, from last week he had over a 90% completion percentage, with over 80% of those passes being 10 yards or longer. Now, Tua Tagovailoa, he's got Henry Ruggs, he's got Jerry Jeudy, he's got Devontae Smith. He's got to throw a 13-yard ball. They take off for 70 yards, and it makes him look like he's throwing it a mile when he's not. I'm not saying he's a bad quarterback. He is deadly accurate in the short to mid-range. But if you put him up a defense that is actually worth a dollar, then at that point, I think he's going to struggle, and he's going to struggle hard. They're going to make him throw it in the tight spaces, and he's going to throw interceptions, just like he did against Clemson in the national title last year.
All right, well, we'll see what happens. Thank you so much for calling in. Love to have the Auburn fans riled up and ready to go today and pounding the table for Bo Nix. So thank you so much for calling in. I appreciate it, and we hope to hear from you again. So one other thing I wanted to add about that in terms of the quarterback comparison between the other guys in the SEC I mentioned and Bo Nix is maybe Nix might be the best runner of the bunch. I know Tua can scoot when he needs to get out of there, but Bo Nix is a good runner. Welcome to the 24/7 Sports College Football Roll Call. What's your name and who's your favorite team?
My name is Juan, and I'm calling from the home of the Buckeyes,
All right.
Columbus, Ohio.
Another Ohio State fan checking in. What's on your mind today?
I just want to keep it very basic for all the haters taking on my Ohio State Buckeyes. We're going to prove everybody wrong. The doubters know.
They're going to
If you
prove.
can remember the 2015 season when we beat it Bama, and they was doubting us that whole year, and we crushed them.
That's true. And
Oklahoma.
that's true. All right. Well, I think that people are going to be looking out for Ohio State. And thank you so much for your call. I appreciate it. Ohio State, when you look at them, they've looked as clean and crisp as they have looked ever since that last national championship run they made. Welcome to the 24/7 Sports College Football Roll Call. What's your name and who's your favorite team?
My name is Billy, and I'm from Huntsville, Alabama, and my favorite team is the Florida Gators.
All right. Okay. So I was a little bit of curveball there at the end. What's on your mind?
Yeah, so one thing, I work with a lot of Auburn fans, and I hear a lot of talk about them having the best offense, defense, and all that out there, that they're very well-rounded as a team. But they need not forget about the Florida Gators and their tough defense. We have been shutting out teams. We have been stopping. Yeah, we got, Trask as a quarterback, but man, that man is throwing like no other. He's very accurate with his completions. And then there's another team that's outside where everybody's talking about Ohio State being in the top 5 and how they're one of the top contenders. What about the Wisconsin Badgers they're going to be facing? Jonathan Taylor has, been runner-up for the Heisman for the last 2 years. He should have been the Heisman winner at least over a quarterback, I would think. That man is running for 150, 200 yards a game. To me, I think he's the number one running back that's out in the game right now.
Well, I love you giving us the full picture as both a Florida fan, but also the unbiased winner as talking about Jonathan Taylor in Wisconsin there. And I will agree with you. Wisconsin has a downright dominant defense. We're talking about how good Auburn's defense is and Florida's defense and all these other teams. But how about Wisconsin? And this game, they won this game with their defense against Northwestern. Their defense scored more points than their offense did. And it was a game where their quarterback, Jack Cohn, didn't play all that great. And Jonathan Taylor had another 100-yard game. He's building his case for the Heisman. Of all the non-quarterbacks, I'd say he's got the best chance to win it. So we'll see what happens. And thank you so much for the call. That was a great, well-rounded call.
Appreciate it.
Awesome. Yeah. A little bit of a Heisman update. We usually do that on this show. I just mentioned Jonathan Taylor, 119 yards and a touchdown on the ground versus Northwestern. But Tua had 418 yards and 6 touchdowns after a couple of weeks with 5 touchdowns. 5 of those touchdowns going to one guy, Devonta Smith. Justin Fields, we mentioned, had 3 touchdowns passing, 1 rushing. Jalen Hurts had over 400 yards passing, 3 touchdowns, plus another 70 yards and a touchdown on the ground. Trevor Lawrence, he's all but played himself out of this conversation. 1 touchdown passing, 1 touchdown rushing in a near loss to North Carolina. Would love to hear from a Clemson fan. And then Joe Burrow and Jake Fromm were both off. Welcome to the 24/7 Sports College Football Roll Call. What's your name and who's your favorite team?
Yes, Go Knows. This is Marvin.
Marvin,
I just want to.
What's going on? What's on your mind?
Yeah, I just want to say, man, to all the Nose fans out there, be patient, man. We got this. We have a few games that we're getting better on. NC State, that really showed that our defense is getting better. So I just want to say, man, be patient to all the Nose fans. Go Nose.
Okay, so you're believing now because a lot of Florida State fans weren't happy with the meltdown at Boise State, and they weren't happy with the near loss to Louisiana Monroe or whoever it was, and now they bounced back and beat NC State. So now you're in the camp. I mean, I don't want to speak for you personally, but Florida State fans were all over Willie Taggart. Now are we in the wait and see mode?
Yeah, that's what I believe. I believe patience is a virtue. So we continue to just hold our head high, and we'll see. Our true test is coming up next week against Clemson, so we'll really see how good.
Yeah, the Seminoles definitely have their work cut out for them. Thank you so much for calling in. I appreciate the Florida State fans checking in. Get a little ACC love there. We have about 5 minutes, less than that, in the program. This one really flew by. It flies by when that phone line is ringing. I want to see if there's anything else here that I didn't mention that I want to get to. How about California passing the Fair Pay to Play Act, or at least it was signed by the governor, that allows players to profit off their names and likenesses, but we'll see where it goes from here with the NCAA getting involved. Another caller. Welcome to the 24/7 Sports College Football Roll Call. What's your name and who's your favorite team?
My name is Andrew Ledford. I'm from Sanford, North Carolina, and my favorite team is the Clemson Tigers.
All right, we did get a Clemson fan check in. So Clemson, you had to be sweating after that one. Narrow 1-point victory over North Carolina. They win it by stopping a 2-point conversion at the end of the game. Gutsy call from Mac Brown, but maybe not the right one. How are you feeling this Monday?
I mean, I'm feeling good now, but I was sweating the whole game.
Well, they didn't make it easy for you. I mean, it was tied for most of the game. You kind of thought that Clemson was going to pull away at some point. I was watching the Notre Dame-Virginia game a little bit closer at the moment, but I had this game out of the corner of my eye, and I kept checking the score and thinking, okay, Clemson's going to get ahead, right, at some point here. And then it just never really happened. And then at the very end, they make the play they need to win the game. So do you think they should have dropped to 2? Should they kept holding on? Should they have held on to the number 1 spot? After all, they've got a 20-game winning streak that's still active.
Yeah, I think we should be number 1 because we are. And I feel like, I mean, last year we barely beat Syracuse, and we won the national title, so I don't know what would be any different than this year.
You know, that's a good point, and thank you so much for the call. We hope you call in again. We love to have the Clemson fans represented on the show, and that's a good point. Clemson always has this stumbling block in the ACC. Last year it was Syracuse. A few years ago it was NC State. Somehow they find a way to get past it, and maintain their position as one of the college football's elite, and they get into the college football playoff, and they play their best football when it matters most. Welcome to the College Football Roll Call. What's your name and who's your favorite team?
Miami Hurricane.
Miami Hurricanes fan on the line. What's on your mind this morning or this afternoon?
I just want to know, we have Manny Diaz. He came in, and
Miami Hurricanes fan on the line.
It's just sad to see that. You see North Carolina doing so good, and they almost shut down the number 1 team in the country, and then we had all this hype with Manny Diaz coming in. What is going on with our guys?
You know, it's not over just yet. They're 2-2. They've got a chance to beat up on a Virginia Tech team at home this weekend that just got absolutely annihilated by Duke. You can't look at other programs. You can a little bit, I think, and say, hey, why is that team, advancing so much faster than my team? Why does that coach have, is he leaps and bounds ahead of my team? So I think it's slow going. I think there's still a lot of faith in Manny Diaz to get it together. They've got 2 straight wins now. Look for Miami to make some moves in the future. I wouldn't give up on that team just yet. But thank you so much for your call. I appreciate it.
All right, thank you. I hope so, man.
All right. Catch you later, and call in again after Hurricanes win. All right, I think that'll do it for the phone calls here because we're right up against the clock. We got to get out of the studio. But I do want to mention the rest of the week. We will be live again on Thursday for the 24/7 Sports College Football Show starring Barton Simmons, Trey Scott, Josh Ayler, Connor Tapp. That's a star-studded cast. You want to tune into that. They will encompass everything we talked about and more today, plus previews and picks of next weekend's games. Then on Friday, we've got a doubleheader of Mike Versus and Threadheads. Mike Versus is the great interactive video game show hosted by Mike DeCipio here at 24/7 Sports. And then Threadheads for all of you uniform and helmet and cleat fans out there. If you love the style of the game, Ted Hyman has you covered with that show over on Twitch. And then the Saturday stream will be back this weekend. I don't know whether it'll be me, Trey, Connor, and Barton, or whether it'll be Connor or Barton on the show, but me and Trey will be there. So make sure you're tuning into that on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Twitch, everywhere. Find us, follow our pages, follow us on Twitter, and make sure you're tuning in and keeping it locked at 24/7 Sports, where we're talking your team all the time. Ever wish the focus was on your team all the time? At 24/7 Sports, it is. Join us for the 2019 college football season. We've got all new message boards, podcasts, and live shows. Visit our website and make sure you're keeping it locked at 24/7 Sports, where we're talking your team all the time.